Do you remember your initial impressions of her, seeing her on the show? Because I think at the time, both you two were maybe some of the lesser known competitors that were on the cast of the show. She said since you guys were on opposite teams, not too much interactions, but what do you remember?
I don't remember much. I remember asking like my teammates, like, hey, like I'll say something to Randa and she'll just ignore me. Does she do that to you guys? And they're all like, no, not really. And so I was just like, bitch, But she's just always been kind of like to herself, kind of standoffish. I think she just didn't want to make friends on the show. And like where I was coming from, I was new to the sport. I had only had one fight before I got on Tough, and I was just like, hey guys, like just being like, friendly and really stoked to be there, and just really excited to be there with a lot of people that I had watched before I got into MMA. So yeah, I guess it was like two different ways to approach being in that environment, in that like hostile environment.
Sure. And do you see any parallels between you and her? Because I think, looking at both your guys' career, you could maybe say, being frustrated with your own inconsistency, maybe you expect better results out of yourself. She's alternated wins and losses pretty much her entire career. Mm-hmm. Do you see some parallels there that, maybe you feel your own potential is bigger than what you've been able to actually do in there?
For sure. Like, I feel like I've definitely grown a lot more than she has. I feel like her style has stayed pretty stagnant. But I feel like I've always shown something different every time I fight. And a lot of that has to do with not having that much experience before being brought onto the big stage. So I think every time I fight, I get tons of people just going, oh my God, you've improved so much since the last fight. And it like keeps happening. So yeah, I think one parallel is that a lot of times I'll watch Randa fight and I'll think, oh, she won that, or oh, she lost that, and it would go the opposite way of what I thought. So she's kind of has like one of those strange styles where she throws everything at you and everyone sees something different. And I'm just trying to get away from those close decisions. So it would be really nice to just make this a dominant fight, a dominant win, get a finish. That's like, my top goal. Like that would be like ultimate, like best case scenario. But if anything, if it goes to decision, I want it to be dominant, and I don't want there to be any doubt in people's mind who won the fight.
Right. And is that like a difficult type of pressure to put on yourself? You want to go out there, you want to be definitive, but you're fighting really good opponents. You're fighting some of the best people who haven't been finished at times, people that have fought the best. Obviously, the goal, you try to set the bar as high as possible, but how do you balance like the disappointment when you don't meet those expectations?
You just have to like push it out of your head, Like I always talk about how before I lost, I was kind of a dumb fighter. Like I just didn't think there was a possibility of me losing at all. And if anything, it really took me far in my career. Like it like going in with like tons of confidence is one of the biggest things you can do. One of the best things you can do mentally for yourself as a fighter. And it doesn't mean like be cocky and throw your hands down or anything like that, but just believing in the amount of time that you've put in and the amount of work and the successes that you've had in training, and using that and using it in the fight without any doubt in your head that, oh, what if it doesn't work, or what if I slip up, or what if I get hit? So I feel like after I lost, I became a little more cautious, and I'm trying to get out of that and just like go back to that dumb fighter state where I'm like, I'm going to beat everyone and no one can beat me. I'm the best fighter in the world. And, it's like, I truly believe that, but, it's also, you have to fight with that practical side of yourself that knows anything can happen in an MMA fight. The best fighter in the world sometimes loses, and like these are the realities of the sport. Mm-hmm. So it's like I have to push those like smart person analyses out of my head and stick with the dumb fighter side of myself.
Right, like in some ways ignorance is bliss, right? Like
exactly.
Undefeated fighters, they don't know what it's like to lose and everything.
Exactly, make yourself a caveman and just go.
You don't want to make too many changes on the other side and like overanalyze it, right? So it's kind of a constant balance you need to figure out. And what about going into this fight? I mean, did you make any, coming out of the last one, any significant changes, or did it kind of just stay the course and you feel like at some point that corner is going to turn and you're going to be exactly where you want?
I think after the last fight, I was super disappointed. I thought, like, I did enough to win. I thought I hit her more. I thought I hit her harder. I went for submission even, you know, like I pushed the pace more, and I still ended up with the loss. So as soon as I you know, got back to my locker room, I was just like, what do we need to do to fix this? You know, like this sucks. Like there's nothing that I did wrong. Like I felt like I didn't do anything wrong, but I still lost. So I needed to figure out how to become more dominant, because it wasn't a case of not being good enough. It was just a case of not showing how dominant I was in there. And so the immediate change I felt like I had to make was going for more things that I don't usually go for, like going for more takedowns, going for more submissions. Like I'll see opportunities to take advantage of, but because of the doubts in my head, like, oh, well, you know, what if they're a better grappler than me? What if they're a better wrestler than me? That will make me hesitate, and then I won't go for the takedown that I could get, or I won't go for the submission hard enough that I almost had. So I had to get rid of that doubt and start trusting in all the skills that I've been working on, even though, like, you know, in the back of my head, I'm always like, well, I'm a striker. I like to strike, you know, I like to punch people in the face. Like, it's really tough to do, but, like, I like wrestling, too. Like, I really like being on top of someone and punching them in the face as well, or just, you know, smothering them and making them want to quit. So I have to bring these new skills into my fights that I've acquired that I know are good enough to be used in competition, and stop hesitating and, you know, being kind of the, you know, cautious fighter.
Right. Was the amount of time between fights like perfect for you to find that solution, or would you like to get back in there sooner to kind of get that out of your head, or did you know, would more time have been better, or is this kind of the perfect timeline for you?
It's hard to say, because like you know, I always want to be in there. Like week after my fight, I'm like, hey,
right, yeah.
Hey, what's up? Put me in. Who's injured? Tell me. You know, like I can be there in a day. And I always want to stay active. I hate being out of competition for more than like 4 or 5 months, because then the nerves coming up to the fight are a little worse for me, just because I haven't felt that energy in a long time. Like being in the bright lights and feeling the canvas on your feet. Like those are like images that I always think of that like get my heart rate up. So when I'm in there, like, you know, fight after fight after fight, it's a little less scary, I guess, and it's more familiar, and it makes it easier for me. But yeah, I think it might have been good for me, because I was able to just focus on like, all right, every sparring I'm gonna get like 2 takedowns. Every time I grapple, I'm gonna go hard for the submission. And I was able to tweak things, and my coaches were able to watch me and say, okay, let's work on this position because you're letting it go. Let's work on this position because you're not finishing it the way we want you to. And it really like allowed me to cinch everything together. So it was probably for the better, but I'll still say I want to fight like immediately after the next one.
Of course. And was Randa the original opponent they came to you with? Because we had talked to her earlier, and she said at first she had been offered Mackenzie Dern, and then when Mackenzie got pregnant, that fight fell apart. They came to her with you. Was this just the fight offer for the state, and that was pretty much it? Yeah,
this is the first I heard of Randa or any opponent, so it was kind of a surprise to me, but like that's why you just have to stay ready, you know. Like when I was in Invicta, I fought 4 times in a year because I stayed ready. And when they called me like a week out of someone pulling out, I was like, yeah, let's go, you know. So I'm always in the gym, I'm always training, and I had a good amount of time to prepare for this fight. I still had like, I guess like 6 or 7 weeks, so it wasn't like short notice, but yes, it was the first fight offer that I got since my Courtney Casey fight.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you get the win here, you're back on track and everything. Where do you kind of feel you fit in this division going into 2019? It seems like the ball's kind of rolling again. I know Rose Namajunas is kicking around here somewhere. She's finally going to get back in there after 13 months. Like, we're actually getting some progress here. Where do you feel like you kind of fit into the evolving weight class here?
Well, you know, it's hard to make a case for yourself when people go and look at your UFC record and they're like, oh, you're this and this. But, you know, like, people have they've given like a less deserving champion or what do you call it, contenders title fight, and I definitely feel like if I get a couple solid wins, I'll be in the talks of one of the people they could call up on short notice. I mean, she's fighting Andrade. I'm the only person recently to go to decision with her. I gave her a hell of a fight. I think with the tweaks that I've made, I could beat her now. And then with Rose, I fought her when I only had 3 MMA fights. So, or was it 4? She was my 4th fight. But, you know, I was super green when I fought Rose. And you know, like, it would be a totally different story now if you watch before we went to the ground. Like, I was definitely giving her work, and it was just that greenness on the ground that, like, got me finished. So I definitely think I can be one of those people. Like, my last 2 losses were so close, it could have gone either way. I definitely felt like I won my last fight, and if I win this one, in my head I'll be on a 3-fight win streak, and that'll be good for my confidence in asking for that title fight. But I mean, aside from Rose and Andrade, who's left to you know, fight for the title? Like, whoever wins that fight, like, Andrade's destroyed everyone else, you know, aside from Joanna, who just got a tit job, so she's probably not fighting at 115 again. And then, you know, after, if Rose wins, like, you know, she's kind of in the same boat. Like, she's beaten a lot of the girls who are in the top 10. So, so I definitely think 2 solid wins, 2 dominant wins could put me back in the talks of title contention. So that's what I'm fighting for.